When I work with clients who struggle with ADHD, the way I advise them that typically leads to the most successful outcomes is teaching them how to negotiate and work with their ADHD. A lot of clients often feel shame and an antagonistic relationship with their ADHD. It's something to conquer, go to war with, and overcome. But I suggest to clients, hold court with your ADHD, hear it out, listen to it, work with it because it's an integral part of who you are. So if you're always exiling that part of you, that ADHD part of you, you'll always be at war and never at peace with yourself. And so the specific part, a specific example of how a client negotiates and works with their ADHD is with the issue of hyperfixation. So a client will often hyperfixate on a subject matter, a topic. They'll go down a YouTube tunnel route, tangent, and they'll be doing this at like 1 a.m. at night, right? And they'll be staying up all hours of the night, wake up completely exhausted, or they'll prioritize a hyperfixation over a need. ADHD has often been analogized as a interest-based motivational system versus a needs-based or priority-based motivational system. So I prioritize what captures my attention in the moment, that shiny thing that seems interesting to me. And that can come with some serious consequences, right? And the client will keep running into consequence after consequence, getting frustrated with themselves, feeling shame, feeling disempowered to make any positive changes in their life because they're beholden to the hyperfixation. So instead of getting mad at yourself and frustrated with yourself and being weighed down with regret and shame and embarrassment and negative self-criticism, accept that part of you and then learn to work with it. So here's a couple specific ideas on how I coach clients on doing that. Number one, sometimes it's okay to feed the hyperfixation. That's okay. You can give a little bit, because I think what folks do is they resist the hyperfixation. No, I'm not going to indulge. And then they overindulge, right? They're not working with it. They're not feeding it a little bit. So it's kind of the appetite of the hyperfixation is kind of held at bay. It's like I'm going to resist until I can hold out no longer, and then I'm completely given over to the hyperfixation. And it could be things like, I get obsessed with stamps or quarters or Pokemon cards or trains. I'll spend hours and hours and hours researching them. I only have conversations with folks about that hyperfixation. So you can see it kind of takes over somebody's life very quickly. Um, Rather than following up on that job interview request or fixing your resume or a friend's in the hospital or you're getting social opportunities and you're ignoring them, right? Oh, that could hurt your career, your money, your intimate relationships. So yeah, if you can regain some of the control, regain some of the power from the hyperfixation, it always works to your benefit. But you might have to feed the beast just a little bit. And I've worked with clients and they've said this is a really helpful suggestion, because like I said, otherwise it's this black and white, all or nothing kind of dichotomy that happens, which just doesn't work for clients overall. So if they can find a middle ground, some gray area of feeding it in a controlled, planned way, that is far more successful. I'll spend an hour on my hyperfixation versus 6 hours late at night. And then I get those 5 hours back to myself that I can use for job opportunities and social opportunities. The other thing is not judging your ADHD, but learning to work with it. So maybe that's a little repetitive, but what I advise clients to do is become a student of how your ADHD works. If you never understand it, you can never negotiate and work with it. It's always kind of hidden in this black box of shame. I don't like that part of me, so therefore I won't understand it and learn to work with it. I just don't even want to deal with it, or I'll act as if it doesn't exist. Well, if you act as if something doesn't exist, that's an integral, important part of you, whether you like it, whether you like it or not, it's going to constantly keep biting you in the butt, so to speak. Um, you're going to miss so many opportunities, and you would miss the opportunity of what you could have done, what you could have achieved if you had a good understanding of your ADHD and had worked with it, if that makes any sense, right? And I think for folks with ADHD, that might be tracking with them because they'll run into a lot of scenarios and situations where it's like, if only I had made a little bit of a different of a decision, if I had navigated that situation just slightly a different way, where I had a little more self-compassion, a little more understanding of myself, of someone who struggles with ADHD, I could have had this outcome. And then they're kicking themselves, right? um the other piece too is find and identify and discover the environments that maximize your ADHD. So ADHD, yes, it has its deficits, but it also has its superpowers. Given the right environment, some folks with ADHD absolutely thrive above and beyond someone who's neurotypical. So think about like high stress environments that require quick decision making and being on your toes and getting almost excited and a thrill from the high stimulus environment. Now, obviously, there's some degrees to which the stimulus might backfire and be too much. But I know for myself, as someone who's neurotypical, too many stimuli, I get overwhelmed and I kind of shut down and I don't do well. I'm very sequential. I like A to B to C to D. Well, someone with ADHD likes A, B, C, D, and E all at once. And the input of all those things at once is exciting. And they take it as a challenge and they overcome those challenges very efficiently, probably far better than me. So, neurotypical, neurodivergent, um, neuroatypical, all these different terms are really just how your brain's wired and how it works in the environment. And so someone who's neurotypical may struggle in certain environments versus someone who's neuroatypical may absolutely thrive. So I'm all for tossing out the stigma and saying it's really just a person environment fit. That's the key to success. And so let's reimagine how ADHD can be a superpower in certain environments. Um, okay. And then I guess if you're struggling with that idea of, well, how do I form a relationship and then start to conversate and negotiate with my ADHD? I don't quite know how to conceptualize it. Maybe name it. I don't know. Maybe look at an object like a little Lego character. I don't know. Do whatever you need to do. Sometimes I have clients name um, ambiguous concepts or parts of themselves or phenomena in their life that just to make it a little more concrete and tangible. So maybe name your ADHD. Don't name it Karen because that's a little too antagonistic and defeats the purpose. But name it something, right? Something that you can have a conversation with it and understand it. Again, I want to position clients to be students of their ADHD and not combatants. So yeah, have a conversation, be a student, learn from your ADHD, and then start to discover what environments play to the strengths of ADHD, and start to take some of the agency back from your hyperfixation by feeding it a little bit. But those are just a few examples of a number of examples of where you can start to form a very productive and constructive relationship with your ADHD. But if you've got some good ideas about ADHD and how to work with it versus against it, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So drop a like, follow, and comment the ways that you've learned to work with your ADHD and see it in a strength-based light versus a deficit perspective.